And tonight's celebrity guest, guys, is a 25-year-old real estate entrepreneur based in Tampa, Florida. He's previously worked for the billionaire Mr. Grant Cardone, raising freaking $100 million worth of equity and being involved in 18 plus transactions, totaling over $3 freaking billion worth of volume at the age of 24. His first deal was a 55-unit, $8 million apartment complex in Daytona Beach, Florida, and he raised about $1 million worth of equity from investors and is now working as a part of the asset management team. Since then, he has founded the Bowling Companies, which is a consulting and education firm around real estate education. He has personally been involved in helping operators raise over $10 million worth of equity in such short time, right? Close 718 units and structure their investor relations team to support scale. His goal is to create content and a brand on social media to show, here's the big thing, to show and not just tell how it's done. His goal is to get to $1 billion worth of asset over management by the age of 30. So that would be for me last year. And by just being extremely open and transparent, he's really showing, you know, the next steps, people and decisions that he's taking to get to $1 billion worth of assets under management. And that way you can take a key piece and apply that into your own life. And what I just love about him is that he's just so freaking transparent, you know, and that's why I'm so excited, you know, to have somebody that's the real deal, that's showing what's happening behind the curtain. So I'm excited to introduce to our community, the Mr. Gabe Bowling.
You just hyped me up to make me look a whole lot better than I actually am. And so I just want to start by saying, celebrity guest, one, I'm not a celebrity. And the main reason that I immediately accepted this, like speaking, is because of how real you guys are. And so the whole basis of what I'm doing is a lot of people like to front, a lot of people like to look like, you know, what you see on Instagram. I'm like, that's not real, man. Like just be real. And so I gravitate towards you guys so quickly because you guys are as open and as transparent as possible. And that's the entire backbone of what I'm doing and ultimately what led me to make the decision to quit working for a billionaire at the age of 24. Like a lot of people think I'm crazy for it, but we'll jump into it a little bit more and, you know, you guys let me know. But super excited to be here. And super excited that everybody joined us Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. That's commitment. So congratulations.
Right. So thrilled. So freaking thrilled. And you know what? Vice versa, same way. I remember the two of us actually getting on the phone for the first time. And it only happened because we were introduced by somebody else we both knew that felt like, you know what? You guys are, I believe, are very much aligned. You guys should talk. And I felt like when we talked to one another, we really could feel that alignment, you know, and man, the more people we get to know in the industry, it's either exactly, you know, what you portray is like this mindset of this abundance mindset is the right word, I believe, right? And it's like, let's all do it together. Or you get this feeling like, you know, it's like, yeah, it's more like you're it's all about you kind of a deal.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, guys, like most of the time you learn from somebody that's like all the way up here. Like, okay, cool. You got $1 billion. You got into the industry 30 years ago. You bought deals for 15 grand a unit. Like, okay, that's cool. But like, I'm just getting into the business. What does it take for me to go from making 75 grand or 100 grand in your W-2 to actually changing your life with multifamily? And that is what I'm so focused on, because like, you know, everybody gets super excited when they learn basic underwriting. They're like, man, I can pick up 20 million bucks on that deal. It's like, it almost is like there's so much fantasizing and so many big numbers. So many people forget to look at the very like basic, the fundamentals. Like, how do I actually transition from 100 grand W-2 to 100 grand of asset management, you know, whatever, replacing your income through multifamily? A lot of people get excited by big numbers and big titles. Like, let's be focused on what matters the most, which is you guys and money coming into your bank account. And that's just the way that, you know, I've kind of been operating. And so a lot of people naturally like to gravitate towards it. And so super aligned.
Shiny, right?
Yeah.
You see the shiny object. Easy to sell. It's easy to sell. Let's be honest, right? I mean, 20 million bucks. You want to make 20 million bucks? Everyone is like, yeah.
Yeah. So what is let's do this so everybody can understand, because I made a big claim. I'm not, they presented it almost like I'm up here. I've done quite a bit. I've done, a decent amount. I have a lot of experience under another person's hood, but I want to walk you through, because I'm 25. I started when I was like 19 or 20. There really hasn't been that much time that's gone by. So I'll walk you through pretty quick a background up to this point, just so you can really see the decisions that I've made that have led up to this point. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. The way we usually start is to answer a simple question.
Sure.
Who is Gabe Bowling?
Yeah. Yeah. So right now I'm 25. Everybody knows I worked for Grant Cardone for 3 years, and I own one deal, 10 million bucks, 55 units, raised a lot of money, raised $1 million for that one at the age of 24. So that's current. But how did I get there? I started at 19, grew up in a middle class. My father's in the military, special forces in DC. Been in for 27, 28 years. So that's kind of like the childhood growing up. I just had to go to school, get good grades, play sports, be good, be cool. And I got by. I was never rich. I didn't really struggle a lot. So like a lot of us here, we're figuring it out. You're getting by, you have your job, something, and now you're looking to make a change. For me, that change was at 19, really when I met my wife, now wife, at the time girlfriend. I was growing up in a middle-class childhood family, not really having to work. She grew up working since like 14. And it was just enough days where I saw her get up at like 6 a.m., go to work, and then I slept in till like 10. And it was like, okay, if I want any chance of like actually staying with this girl, I got to make a change in my life. And so really, if you look at it from like a graph, her entering in my life skyrocketed. So we met, and really for me, college wasn't a thing. Like I went to college just so I could live in my house and get by and make my dad and mom happy. I didn't like college, didn't really believe in it. I think it's a really big waste of time outside of connections. So I looked up pretty much what career fields can I get into with no college degree that I can make the most money in. Real estate, it's a pretty obvious one. Everybody gets ridiculously wealthy through real estate. And so I Googled it, and I got my real estate license. That's the first step for anybody. Actually, mistake if you really want to become an investor, but I won't say it was a mistake because it led to me getting here. I got my real estate license. I actually failed it 3 times, passed on the 4th. And then I realized just because I had a real estate license, money didn't land in my bank account just because I got a license. Right. And so I was like, okay, well, this is cool. Now what to do after you get your real estate license? You hang it with a brokerage. I really didn't even know. And so I just started cold calling brokerages. And at this point, really the big takeaway of what I'm about to tell you is I assessed myself personally. What assets do I have and what liabilities do I have to the person that is going to be hiring me? Not like physical assets, money in the bank and liabilities, but like me as an individual. And this is really big for everybody here. At the time, I was living with my parents. I didn't have to work. And so one of my biggest assets was that I had time. I could work for free. And so I used that. I leveraged my asset into a position working for a commercial real estate brokerage called Marcus & Millichap. Everybody knows them, down here in Tampa. I ended up going there completely for free, barely getting in. It was timing. They needed to fill seats. Cool. I went in. First one in, last one out, every day for a year. For me, I didn't belong there. Like I was like a 19-year-old just wearing a suit, and like everybody else is making 500 grand a year or $1 million a year, like real professionals that are really in this business. I was just, hey man, what can I do? Can I just underwrite deals for you? Can I just do whatever and get experience? All I was looking for was experience and access to people. Just being around the right people, just like you guys are here.
Hey, Gabe, can we pause really quick here, man? Because
yes.
It seems like we noticed in your story here, a big shift in mindset. A big 100. Shift in mindset.
Yeah,
because you went from sleeping in until 10 a.m.
Yeah.
to now you did your evaluation, your assets and liabilities, which somebody that sleeps into 10 a.m. is probably not doing that, right? So there was a shift there. And then the work ethic that you're now talking about for 1 year being the first one in and the last one out. Talk about just a little bit the development in your mindset through that time period.
Great question. Thank you for bringing that up. I got through, so out of high school into college, I played baseball my entire life. I was a catcher like all my life. And once I graduated, I was like, okay, I could go walk on and play at a JUCO, or I could go try to figure out my life. I decided to go try out and figure out my life. And so I had to make a decision of like, what do I want to do every day now that I'm not going to the baseball field? And so I got into bodybuilding. I wasn't like the biggest partier. I tried to fit in. I tried to be cool. I was cool because I played baseball in high school. Like, okay, that's cool. But what happens after I got out? I developed pretty much a bug to get into bodybuilding. And so that's really where I think growing up in my household with my father, and I had a lot of discipline, built up discipline, and I knew how to be a disciplined person. I just didn't know how to allocate it or channel it into the right vehicle. And so once I found bodybuilding, I like went all the way in. Like the power of going all the way in, it's ridiculous. I got super shredded, super veiny. I was still broke, but I was super, I was shredded. I was that person.
Bro.
I was that douchebag in the gym, taking the photos, taking videos. But it was like, it showed me how to channel my I have a very, 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 very addictive personality. It's like, okay, I'm either all the way in or I'm all the way out. There is no halfway in, halfway out thing for me. It's like, that's just the way I am. And so I got into bodybuilding. I was like, that's cool. Like, I know if I just commit, because you have to go crazy in your head. Like you're going to the gym on day one with the expectation of what you're going to look like on day 180, but you're putting in work. Like on day 1, day 2, and day 3, you see no results. And you're like, is this worth it? I'm going through all this pain to hopefully look like something on the other end. You can start to see the similarities of, if you just take out bodybuilding and you put in multifamily, it's the exact same thing. And
that's right.
I did bodybuilding for 2 years, broke, didn't make any money. I competed, I got my Instagram followers, I got my Instagram photos, and that was pretty much it. And I can't remember, I listened to a lot of books on Audible. That's like the first thing, like exposure to self-help. And then I went to GrowthCon 2019 Miami in the Miami Marlins Stadium. That was like my first event, putting myself around people. And then I went to Marcus Millichap, and then Marcus Millichap for a year. Still didn't make any money. I was working for free, but I knew at some point what I was doing in and out every day would pay off. I knew that I was developing a skill set, and that is really, like, if you guys can take it away, take that away. Developing a skill set that you can leverage to leverage yourself into different types of opportunities. Some gentleman earlier, I forget his name, he has 10 years of asset management experience. That's value. That is value in this space, right? For me, I can raise a bunch of money. I can look at a deal. That's value to a lot of people that are in this space. So start thinking, really assess, what are my assets right now? And what are my liabilities? Not the money, but you personally. What value do you bring to another team? Because you can't do this game. You can do this game alone, but it gets boring. Like, just making money by yourself is not fun. I'll tell you that. It is not fun at all. Like, you want to do this with really good people. And so how did I get the grants? It's actually really funny. My wife, I think she's on this call. My wife, at the time, I didn't actually follow Grant. I unfollowed him because he posted too much. It's crazy how full cycle it's gone, but he posted too much. I didn't follow him. And then my wife sent me an Instagram post saying that Cardone Capital was hiring. And I kind of took that as like, okay, cool. We first met, I was waking up at 10, and now I'm at this job. I'm doing the right thing. And then I kind of got this little hint that she really wanted to change. She really wanted to grow up and start making money and actually, building our life, together. At this time, I'm 21, I think turning 22. And I applied, it's not just to click LinkedIn and apply. send my video, I send an email, I send a text, I call them again, I call them again, and I call them again until I land an interview. We go down there, just enough experience and just enough knowledge that I got from Marcus Millichap to leverage that into the position working for Cardone Capital. And then like that right there was that was the one thing, one piece of momentum. Because in baseball, like if you're in the 7th or 9th inning and you can feel this momentum shift of like one pitch or one hit, somebody gets hit when they're batting and they get to first base, changes the momentum for everything.
That's right.
You guys know what I'm talking about. So that one thing that changed everything was the opportunity working for Grant. So this is in 2019, mid 2019. I get in and I'm like, dude, I'm putting my head down for the next 3 to 5 years. I don't care. However long it takes. I looked at it as an opportunity to learn and get paid at the same time. And so in every day, first one in, last one to leave. That is a rhetorical. Like if you guys want to do something great, you can't just keep doing the stuff that everybody's doing. Like you have to be different. I'm telling you, you have to be different. So first one in, first one out every day. For the first year, I really got exposed. I raised like 30, I want to say 30 or 35 the first year. The second year is really when I started developing this bug for deals. Like at some point in the investor relations role, and especially for capital raising, you have to make a decision. Do you want to be a capital raiser and a salesperson for the rest of your life? Or do you want to be an operator? That is one decision you will have to make at some point in this business. For me, I knew that I was addicted to deals. Like that's where I wanted to channel all of my obsession. And so year 2, it's like, okay, let's really take advantage of the opportunity that I have to be directly working under a billionaire who only owns 10,000 units. Like there's so much opportunity in there. And I was making money. Like at the age of 22, I made 200 or 175, 200 and then 250. Like it's a great opportunity to make money there. And so a combination of both making money, learning, and then seeing it done. I think that's really important to mention. Seeing 18 institutional size transactions go from start to finish, piecing the debt together, piecing the equity, piecing everything, literally everything. You start to go like in your head, you're like, okay, man, it really is just, there's a purchase price, there's a loan. The deal is going to have to qualify the loan. So understanding that, and then understanding the who behind how do I get that loan? Okay, cool. So debt's taken care of. And then equity is just sales. Like raising capital is no different than owning a business and looking at it as a sales funnel. You have to have people to talk to. You have to have something that you're selling. You're selling security into an investment. And then you have to be able to communicate with those people, answer all their questions, and hopefully they invest with you. And so it was like, okay, enough of that had gone by. And my wife and I made the decision. We're like, okay, what do we want to do with our lives? You have to be selfish. I'll be like, a lot of people don't like to say that very out loud. You have to be selfish. You cannot help as many people as you want to help until you help yourself. I'll be like very open and very transparent. You have to choose. You have to choose and make decisions today for where you and hopefully your partner. My wife is a massive proponent of the business. Where do we want to be at in the next 5 years? In our current pathway, what is the potential look like? What's the upside? It's almost like I'm talking about a deal. What's the upside, right? I'm like, okay, well, how do I make this decision? What's the worst thing that happens? Okay, I quit. I go out. I can't find a deal. I think I have this big ego. I can't make any money. I've learned nothing, and I burned a relationship. Okay. Cool. I have $100 million on my resume and I work for a billionaire. Like, okay, cool. I can go get another job making 150, 200, 300, I don't know, something close to it. So I'm like ground zero. I just go back working for another operator, making a couple $100,000. That's cool. Again, skill set, assess yourself. How much value do you bring? Not as an entrepreneur, just to anybody. And so that's worst case in my eyes. I could be wrong. Best case, a lot. And so I look at upside versus downside. I'm like, all right, let's roll. And then once we made that decision, again, my personality being either all the way in or all the way out, we went all the way in. I quit February 1st, and talk about the universe. I'm a big believer in the universe and manifestation. I left, my last day was February 1st, 2022. I got an email, which if everybody here is learning, you guys get emails from brokers. I got the just listed email for this deal on February 4th, 2022. 4 days after I quit.
That's what's up, brother.
Yeah. And so we close on it. That was $8 million. I partnered with a guy, most people should know him, Ken Gee, he spoke here, Daytona Palms. He invested $3 million from his fund. I invested $1 million for Bowling Equity Fund 1 at the age of 24, not under another person's hood, but under my hood, which was really super cool. And then fast forwarding, I think this is super, super, super important, super cool to share. We bought this deal in June and we went under contract in February, right before the first 75 basis point rate hike and before all this madness has happened. We were one of the last deals to close and we closed on a 3.86% fixed interest rate.
Let's go.
And it was a 10-year loan. So we're paying 6, we're going to 7 to the investor. When I raised for that deal, I'm going to tie all this together on capital raising. When I raised for that deal, the way I presented it was very simple. This is kind of sliding into capital raising. Let's assume everybody here is 100 grand. They're all accredited. My goal over the next 3 to 5 years is to turn 100 grand into 200 grand through both the cash flow and the upside. If I can hit average rents from 1,008 going to 1,400, then we'll hit those returns, hopefully. Within 30 days after closing, we had 3 leases signed at $1,500. And so managing expectations of your investors are so important. So the investors who invested in that deal, I raised $1 million of equity. We blew the projections out of water. And so what do you think that does to the investors? It makes them extremely happy.
Totally.
I call them all back. Hey, I'm working on a live deal right now. Could be one of the first recession deals everybody's hearing about, the bridge debt. We'll see.
Yep.
That equity for the deal is $3 million. I'm going to call the same people that invested the 1 million. I'll have it full with just them. I'm not even going to go out to the public. So you see it. I started the ball started rolling for me 5 years ago, but it really started rolling once I quit grants because the first deal led into the second led into the third, and that's how we're going to $1 billion. And so the whole basis of me being on social media, doing the education, being all here, it's like, I'm not the big guy. I'm not the guru. I know a lot. I know a lot of the people that try to be the gurus, like, you know what I'm saying? I try to be very, very, very open. I have a lot of experience under Grant's hood. I could say, hey, if I can take you to $1 billion of real estate. I haven't done that. I make claims on what I've done, not under another person's hood. So I'm doing this. I have the equity, I have the debt, I have everything set up. It's just, okay, well, why keep it to myself when I could just give it to everybody else? So I'm not that far along. So that's
you only really need to be one step ahead, right? That's really what it is. You just, if you're one step ahead, that's where you are really actually authentic, I would say, right? Because somebody, that's easy to follow. Hey, just one step ahead, and then you level up. You know, so people can level up again. You can pull the people up, but what you don't want to be obviously is stay stagnant and become somebody's ceiling, right? So, but that's why when I would say, for example, Gabe is the real deal. What I mean by that, really, because it's also depends, right? What do you define real deal? To me, is exactly that, because I can look at Gabe, you know, and I can see it's obtainable. It happened last year. It happened last month. Like I can do that. You know, if it happened last year, last month, I can do it. If it happened 30 years ago and you bought your units at 15K a unit, you know, that doesn't happen today anymore, right? But with you, you know, we can look, oh man, I can pull on that on those shorts and get pulled up by this guy. Just do the same thing he does, you know? Yeah. And I think that's so real and authentic about it. And I think that's why people gravitate also towards you because you're also so open about it. Because,
Oh yeah.
you know, you could go out there and be like, I'm the next guru, you know,
I could be that guy.
did.
Yeah. Well, I
Exactly.
have to be, because the way that I, the biggest reason, so I start, just for everybody here, very open. As soon as I left, everybody here is 24 making 250 a year. How the hell does this guy live? Right? That's probably going through your head. As soon as I left, I started the one-on-one consulting business. My consulting business, I make the majority of my money from, because as soon as I left, I said, okay, let me assess myself. I'm going to ground zero. What is my value? What is my assets? And what is my liabilities? My assets have grown quite a bit from the first time that I assessed myself. And so I used that to acquire one-on-one consulting clients that replaced my income plus more within like the first 30 days of leaving. And so I started that, and I said to myself, I really want to help people, because at the very beginning of Grant's Real Estate Club, I was very highly involved. I was working with a lot of people, and I was like, man, this is really cool. Like, I explain things very simply. A lot of people like it. And so I want to be able to do this, but I internally didn't believe in myself to be able to do that until me personally has done that. And so I started the consulting. I then completed the Daytona Palms deal, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm working with a lot of people that really want to grow their business from like, call it 1,000 to 5,000 units. And I know what I'm doing, but nobody, like, okay, that's cool. I can only look at so many deals, right? And so that's when the inception of the education business formed, the deal room. And so I'm vertically integrating everything under one hood. That way, somebody brand new, somebody green, me 5 years ago, if I didn't have to go through all the BS to get to year 5, like we could have done that in the first 6 months, or the first 12 months to at least get properly educated and then go out with the right people. That's all it is. I just pieced it together one thing at a time. And so it's accelerating. That's the whole point. Like any educator out there, that should be the like basis of their business. They want to accelerate the progress for the next person. And so that's kind of how everything is right this second.
Gabe, I got a question, man. You mentioned your skill set, your value, your assets drastically increased after working for Grant. It makes sense, right? Could you just unpack that a little bit, man, as far as what specifically did you get from a value perspective working under Grant, and maybe digest that a little bit, and then with our community here, what could they do? Maybe some of the things, and if they want to really get into capital raising, that they can start getting into themselves to increase their asset side of things in the capital raising sphere.
Yeah, well, let's keep it real. Just because you work there doesn't mean you become an expert. I'll guarantee you that. Just because you work at Chase or JP Morgan doesn't mean you're qualified to handle what JP Morgan and Chase does. Just like,
that's true.
Ask one, if you're like, I'm a very skeptical person. I don't trust a lot of people. I ask really hard questions, and I really like to dig in. And it all comes back to one thing, which is knowledge and confidence. Confidence comes from knowledge. And so working at Grants, I had access to all of the courses and stuff. I took advantage of it. When I got up in the morning and I went there early, like it was a 20 or 30 minute period between when I got there and everybody else got there. Shit, man. I was watching the course for 20 to 30 minutes. What is NOI? What's cap rate? What's debt? What's like, I started learning. And then when I'd go home, like, okay, I'm either going to sit on the couch and watch TV with my wife, or I'm going to watch this. I'm going to consume some type of content. It may as well better me, right? Okay, cool. And so that's how I really got started into it. I just took advantage of what I could have. And then really the firsthand experience of like, okay, hey, we just bought this $100 million deal. How in the hell? Because I'm like on the front lines. I'm the person talking to all of the investors. I'm like, all right, man, how really does this work? I started thinking, I think a very large trait for almost every, I study a lot of very successful people, especially in this industry. A lot of them are very curious. A lot of successful people are very curious. They ask why often. And so I just started asking why. Hey, man, how does this work? Susan, the CFO, how does this work? How's the setting up security work? Carlos, the underwriter. Hey, Carlos, how you doing, man? Let me buy you some lunch. Can you walk me through this? Walk me through this underwriting. It was me developing this little bug for like deals. I just became a deal junkie, and I was like, man, I started to see the world so much bigger. And I started to perceive it. It was like, man, this is something one that I can actually do. Believing in yourself is huge at the beginning. And then two, it's like, I just saw it done for 18 times, like at $4 billion of scale. If I want to go and buy a 40 unit deal, it's like, okay, how hard really can it be? If I focus on two things, it always comes down to two things. Expect like in this business, education, so many people skip this part. Like I'm telling you, the type of education I'm talking about is like 6 to 12 months, you're digging in and you know it. You KNOW it, not the fluffy back of the napkin whiteboard stuff. You have to go through the fluff stuff to get to the detail, but don't think that you know everything because you watched a 30-minute YouTube video of like super high level underwriting. Dig deeper. So education, and then once you get the education, it's pretty much, it doesn't really change much. It's a working machine. Private equity, the whole private equity model, just FYI, everybody here syndicating deals, raising capital, raising other investors' money for an asset to generate returns and then do a profit split. That is the private equity model. We are ripping it off. We're playing with very small crumbs of an extremely large pie. And these are 7-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, and 9-figure crumbs. They're all crumbs.
Oh man. Well, what do you mean by that exactly, Gabe?
Go here, put in this link, nmhc.org. If you type into Google, NMHC, National Multifamily Housing Council, top 50, you'll be able to pull up the top 50 apartment owners in the country. And you'll see what I mean when I say we're all guppies and we're all playing a very, 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 very large game. If you've ever seen the movie War Dogs, it's like, you know, they're playing with the big pie, but the crumbs are like big crumbs to do literally anything you want in your entire life and take care of you and your family and your family's generations forever. Like these are pretty fun crumbs to play with, not flipping a home and making 40 grand and then having to go to the next one.
I love that, brother. I love that.
But that's going back to your original question, people and education. The people is really big, like a really big proponent of it. And you guys already know that, being on a Zoom call at Sunday at 9:30, specifically here. You guys have already gotten it. It's just a ball is going to start rolling and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger the longer it goes down. This is a space that can take care of you forever. Just be okay, like taking time to get properly educated and meet the right people.
I love that.
Right? Consistency is key on that. You just have to continue to move forward and move the needle week by week, heck, day by day even. Right? It doesn't need to be much.
You're going to do it anyways. Like you're going to live until you're done.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And Gabe, I want to bring this up to everybody here, and I think probably Caleb has thrown this into the chats already.
Sure.
But you have a free course, right? An absolute free course. I went through it myself. You know, I did 2 hours every morning. I always wake up early, by the way, just like you did basically with Grant, you know.
Yeah.
And the first 2 hours of my day before I start my W-2, I do whatever it takes, education, you know, go through emails, real estate, anything that needs to be done, you know, because these 2 hours are very uninterrupted hours, you know, so very focused hours. And I took your 2-hour course. I would recommend everybody, you know, especially, you know, like the basics, right? But actually, you know what, Gabe, it does go through the basics, but there is some good stuff in there, you know, that's not just simple, hey, here's what's NOI, you know, I mean, it's really nice package. I really like it. So I would suggest everybody take a look at that. It's the free course that Caleb has been putting in there, howtobuymultifamily.com/free course, and check it out, guys.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I left, just so everybody knows, I took everybody's paid course, like all of the educators out there, they all have paid courses. I have all of them. And I pretty much twisted the takeaways and I took out the fluff and I removed the nonsense hype and I gave it all away for free. The people who jump in it, they actually love it. Like they're like, dude, why in the hell would you give this out for free? I'm like, it doesn't matter if you don't have the people. Like I could give out, I have an advanced course, it's 12 hours. It's literally the free course on steroids, both size and detail. I could give that out completely for free. That's literally everything I know. People still wouldn't do deals. Like I like Alex Hormozy is a
Yep.
big person that I look up to. Like, give everything away for free, a lot of it, and then sell the implementation. Like the education's out there, the information's out there. You could take 5 years and piece it together one at a time, or you could just get it, and then you're still going to need help. I know you're still going to need help. So whenever you've gone through it, you figured it out that, okay, this is for me, then you just come back. And I know that you're willing to take, I know that you're the right person for that because you spent 2 hours. I'm like, shit, anybody that spends 2 hours with me before they even jump on a call, I know that they're probably serious versus the person that just, like, we've given it out to like 5,000 people. Maybe 400 of them have actually logged in. That's how much of a fall off there is because it's free. There's no pain attached to it. We've tested it. We've sold it for $7, the same thing. So you could see 2 ads. You could see one free and then one for $7. The person who pays $7, the quality of that person is so much better because there's something about taking out a card and putting the card numbers in and the name and giving me your address for $7. So
That's right, brother.
Yeah,
That's exactly
Well, we
right.
always say here, right? We say the biggest disadvantage of the Freedom Chasers community is that it's free.
yeah, 100%.
But that's what we want to do, obviously, right? But that's where you can see it's tough. The consistent. That's why we stress it: consistency. And you see people in here that have been showing up consistently for 5-6 months now, right? Since really we started. Robert earlier was a perfect example of that, right? And that's moving the needle. But when it's free, it's a little bit harder, right? Because, well, what do I have to lose? Well, you don't see what you've got to lose because it's still in the future what you've got to lose. It's not something today, like your money, actually, that you earned and worked for.
Yeah.
But Gabe, real quick, on a capital raise level, right?
Yes.
Let's say we have somebody that's educating himself, knows kind of, how to speak to somebody, to bring him on as an investor, but he's on his own, doesn't maybe have a team yet, or his team designated him to be the capital raiser, but somehow you need to put the operations into motions, right? It's not as simple as, well, it could be, but that's not how it's sustainable. Like, pick up your phone and call people, that's maybe a start, but right, how do you make it more professional? Like, what is something that you need, like maybe tools, how do you tell people to kick it off?
Yeah. Well, everybody here, every single person, I don't care if you're 75 or 18 or 24. I don't care if you're an introvert. I don't care if you're an extrovert. It doesn't matter. Everybody here has to have a social media. It doesn't matter if you're personal, if you're a company. Like, I know a bunch of people that, like, for me, it's super easy. I have a personality. That's why I can do stuff under Gabe Bowling versus another company name. Not everybody's going to be that person who, like, on social media. You got a company, that company has followers, that company can make informational posts about the apartments that you're going after or about the operations on deal. Like, if you're partnering with another person that has deals, you like leverage them. So 1, social media, and then 2, take advantage of local networking events. Like, you guys, seriously, the free ones and paid ones. In your local town, there is a group of real estate people, because this is how the world works off of social media. Like, people still buy, like, a lot of people in real estate, they're rich and they don't have Instagram, they don't have social media. How? Right?
Yep.
It really only takes 5 to 10 really good people that you need to know, like really good people, 5 to 10 people to change the entirety of your entire life. For me, it was 1, Ken. Ken allowed me to do this deal, and this deal changed everything. It took 1 person. Right? And so start on social media, be completely okay. And this comes back to the education. Like, if you feel insecure posting about possibly raising money for a deal, it's probably because you don't know something. And so 1, focus on getting educated. 2, but once you're ready to step into the capital raising is a sales position. You need it, and everybody thinks of sales like bad. It's not that type of sales. It's just communication. That's all it is, between person and person. That's all it is. You need people to talk to. And so, actually, before going into that, super important, like the number 1 thing that I could honestly say, because I can't speak to every single person individually, you have to be clearly defined on where you want to be in 5 to 10 years from now. Whatever your long-term thing is, whether it's 2 years, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't matter. Like, instead of, I want to have a nice house and I want a nice car and I want my time, Like get more specific. What house in what neighborhood and how much is it? And how much money do you need in your bank account every single month to afford that type of lifestyle? You have to get that clear. What car do you want? How much is the lease? How much is it to own? Like get super, super, super clear on what you want your life, because from there, you can reverse engineer into both how much activity you need to be making every single day. Like if you want to go make 100 grand a month, you're going to have to work really hard over the next 10 years. Just being honest. If you want 10 grand a month and you want to buy back your time and spend time on with your family, you can afford the type of lifestyle that you want on 10 grand a month. We can get there in the next 2, maybe 3 years. And so understanding where the end is so incredibly important, because it dictates what you're going to be doing every day and who you're going to be involved with on a daily basis as well. So I'd say that's number one important thing to take away. Please, like super, super, super please write down your goals.
It's building a base, right? It's having that foundation essentially.
Yeah, like for me, and I don't want everybody to go make $1 billion goal. I'm 25. I have total almost 6 years to get 6 12-month periods. By the age of 30, so right before I turn 31, I want to have $1 billion. I have 10. I got a lot to go, right? 990 left to go. How many years is it? It's 6 years. That means I need to buy X number of real estate every year. How many quarters are in a year? 4 quarters. I need to buy $43 million of deals every single quarter for the next 6 years to get to $1 billion of real estate. Okay, well, that kind of sums it down a little bit. What do I need? What I'm about to go through is really, really impactful. What do I need? And then who do I need as well to get to that billion, to get to $43 million a quarter? There's 2 things. What? I need deals. I need to be looking at deals. If I need to buy $43 million of deals, that means I'm probably looking at $500 million of deals to buy 43. Can my acquisition system or team handle $500 million a quarter looking at deals and underwriting? Yes. Perfect. Checkbox. And you guys, like, just take a 0 off it. If you really wanted to be like real, what's the worst thing? Okay. What else do I need? I need equity and I need debt. Do I have the people that I need to know to solve for the debt portion? Yes. Again, people pipeline. Do I have the equity? How much equity do I need for a $43 million deal? It's going to be $15 million a quarter. Okay, well, $15 million, if I do that deal with one other person, let's call it 7.5 and 7.5. Can I raise $7.5 million of equity every quarter? Yes. If I can't, you know where I'm going to go. I'm going to go push on getting more people, more potential investors into my pipeline. And so okay, what if I have too many investors, but not enough deals? Now I need to go find another person. I need to go find a broker. I need to go find people that are more involved in deals. And so it all comes back to where, like, what are you guys doing here? You guys aren't here for me. You guys are here for you. You guys, like, you might have seen a picture. That's cool. But you're really here for you. What do you want out of your life in the next 5 to 10 years, or even long-term? Think about, man, these assets, they're like this deal. We bought it this year. It's been existing since 1980. It's literally kicked off cash flow for the last 53 years. Think about things you can pass along to your family, and then the family's family, and then the family's family. Like, it doesn't end. Like, that's what I'm saying. The ball, it never stops rolling. So that's what I'd say.
That's good, brother. That's really good. Gabe, I love the way you think, man, on just on a macro level, long-term view, but also going through the exercise with the discipline that you have to break it out on a granular level on how exactly you can execute it. Kind of a little bit related to that, and we're going to open up for questions here from the community pretty soon. But you said something that kind of struck me a little bit earlier. You said eventually you need to decide whether you want to be on the capital raise side or you want to be on the operation side.
Yeah.
Could you unpack that a little bit? And,
Yes.
and again, with the view of like thinking long term,
Macro,
right?
yeah, macro level. Yeah.
Like, okay, how can one, and I'm including myself in this as well,
Sure.
go through that evaluation and kind of set an appropriate trajectory on which space I should be, gaining skills and adding value to myself to actually succeed in that.
Yeah, amazing question. So the way that I would look at it is the first 3 years that you're going to spend in this business, meaning tonight for the next 36 months, is one step. You're not making multiple steps in the first 3 years. You're entering the business. You can enter the business in many different ways. You can be the small 16 unit deal in your backyard. You're going to be the manager and you're going to make your money that way. You could be a capital raiser and partner with people in the industry that already have an existing business and a track record that you can use and leverage. And there's multiple avenues to get into this business. But going back to the clarity of what you want out of your life is going to answer the rest of this question. For me, I want to build a really large investment firm out of Bowling Capital. And for Bowling Capital to get there, I know at some point I'm not going to get by just being a capital raiser, because I want to make as much money as possible. And if you look at like the pillars of how to make money in this business, raising capital can get you only so far. Like, you're never going to control deals. You're giving up control to everybody else. You never have any say so, and that's it. You don't really get any asset management, and it is what it is. You get your one time at the front, one time at the back, and that's cool. You get to be a part of a deal in which you would have never been a part of if you didn't get into the business through capital raising. And so the people that do that and leverage and use that experience to then build out a company, I love that. But if you only do that forever, it's not that sustainable. You have to then rely on people like me to allow you in my deals. And so it's like, okay, how do you enter the business? But what is the exit look like? What are you here for? So I think there's really like the two biggest ways to do it is through capital raising. Very, 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 very popular thing today, because it's a very big value proposition to a lot of people, being able to raise a couple $100,000 or $1 million or $2 million for a deal. It would help me tremendously if you could bring $5 million to the table, and I know you're real. You got yourself a spot on the table. I know other people that will do it for a couple $100,000. So again, it goes back to the people. But then take advantage of it. Don't be the person that raises $50,000 for a deal and then never jumps on an asset management call, never ask about the property, never do anything. You're not helping yourself at all. Because think about it. You do a deal as a capital raiser, you get in, you take advantage of it, and then what? Okay, well, you want to do a deal. So then you go out and find a deal. Then you talk to a broker. The broker is going to know whether you know what you're doing or not, regardless. Whether like you're a GP and a cool deal, like, do you know what you're doing? Can you close? Do you have the debt? Do you have the equity? And so where's the real money at? The real money is like the end goal for everybody should be to be a solo operator, because you get to keep all of the carry and promote. That's it. You make the most money there. If you look at like the biggest giants in the world, you'll never see the biggest giants just being capital raisers ever.
That's huge.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's huge. And I see already some questions trickling into the chats, and I'm going to challenge the people to actually raise their hand and ask that question. However, before we do that, real quick, I want to ask everybody, guys, did we meet your expectations for tonight? You know, did you get some value out of all this just now for the past, what is it, 48 minutes? Did you, if you got some value out of this, throw some stuff in there, some fires, lightnings, whatever the case may be, diamonds. Look, Jackie puts diamonds. I love that.
Let me say something else. One other thing. The alternative to the capital raising is it's going to be longer. You're going to have to delay. I'm always short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. That's just like the way I operate in all my businesses. Most people, like, thinking about your audience, you're in a W-2, you have income. It logically makes sense for you to leave your position when you've then replaced your income in either match or in excess, right? So it's like, what's the easiest and the most quickest way? Well, buying a 24 unit deal, I know it's not 240 units, and I know it doesn't get everybody excited. Buying a 24 unit deal in your backyard and being the management and being the asset management and getting the acquisition fees, you can replace 50 to 70 to 100 grand pretty quick just on a 24 to a 40 unit deal. Like I'm looking at a 40 unit deal right this second. The management fee for managing the property, which is really just managing a couple of people, is 50 grand. 40 units, $7 million, 50 grand. The asset management fee is another 35 or 40 grand. So we're almost up to 100. And then the acquisition fee is $105,000. That's real money on a 40 unit deal. I care about money in the bank, not titles. And so that's why I say, I mentioned that there's multiple ways into the business, and every one of them have the pros and the cons. That's one that not many people like to talk about. People look at it almost as like frowned upon because it's not $100 million deal. But that's cool, man. I worry about money in my bank. Like, you guys make the decision. What do you want? So
right. That's what you need, man. Also to not have that stress, right? Because you don't really want to have that pressure of needing to make money, kind of the deal, right? You don't want to make your decisions based on, I have to close this deal. Then you make irrational decisions, right? Yeah. So 100% agreed. All right, let's flip it, right? I see already a bunch of hands popping up here. Super thrilled. Let's get started with Tracy. I think Tracy is first in line. Let me unmute you, Tracy. There you are. Let me spotlight you as well. What's up, Tracy?
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Tracy, before you ask your question, I just want to remind everybody again what we said in the beginning of the Zoom. Make sure you're concise, crisp, and fast in your questions so that we can cover as many as possible.
Okay. All right, great. All right. Thank you. So I'm a developer, real estate developer, right? And we're building a fund to build actually a community in forgotten neighborhoods, right? Beautiful. So I'm near at building the fund. And my question to you, so we were going to build the fund, but we had someone come to us and say that they like investing in these type of properties. I mean, these type of deals where you're going and building out communities like this. So if you were approached by somebody that want to just give you the money and ask for equity in place of that, would you be willing to give up like a large percentage of equity in your company?
100%,
like
1,000,000%.
Okay.
One-time deal, not the entire company. Like for me, this deal, Bowling Capital partnered with KRI Partners, and it was strictly based off the equity raise. So there's one operating agreement, one deal, one everything, but it's owned by two separate companies, me and Ken. I gave up 75% of the ownership to get this deal. Everybody think that was worth it because of the amount of experience that I can leverage from this deal. Yes. I give up to get 1,000%, especially in the timeline, because it just takes one minute little change, one person, one deal to completely flip the script and completely change your life. So I'd be 1,000,000% up to it.
Okay. And I think so too. I have partners. One of them don't want to give up the equity. So I wanted to get somebody's, professional opinion on that, who's done it before. So thank you. Thank you for that.
No problem at all. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tracy. Great question. All right. I see Danny. Danny, good to see you, man. What's up, bro?
Hello.
Hey, Danny.
What up?
There you are.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, and see you. Oh, wait, you're muted again. Let me unmute you again. There you are.
This is just a quick comment, right? And usually when you kind of chime in and listen into these things, there's a question that's always asked. What are you getting from these Zooms? What type of value? I mean, if anything, if you guys haven't heard his heart, Gabe's heart and his passion, as organic as it can be, those are the type of people that you want to be able to tap in with, because there's a lot of shady people out there, but what he has presented today is who he is as a person. While making money is great, but you can't hide an organic, genuine individual and his heart and his love and compassion to help people. So that's where I'm at. But thank you, Marcel, Trevor, and NG for putting on these Zoom. I do appreciate you guys for doing it.
You got it. Thanks for
We
coming.
appreciate you, bro.
Awesome, man. That's super, super, super cool. Like, that's why I do it. It just makes me extremely proud. You know, like,
Yeah.
Thank you, man. That does a lot more than you know. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Now we got where there is a will, there's also an Aldo.
That's a good one. That's a good one right there, man. Appreciate that. Hey, Gabe, thanks for coming on tonight, man. Super appreciative. Can't thank you enough for your time and being with us on a Sunday night at 9 p.m., man. I know you've got a family, so thank you. Here from a father and husband too. Hey, listen, man, you made a point about crumbs and essentially saying, correct me if I'm wrong, saying that syndication is basically a stolen playbook from an equity fund raise. Man, could you go high level on that for me and kind of explain to me what the differences are there and maybe where I could go to start educating myself on, fundraising for an equity fund?
Well, syndication and fund, I could have heard the question wrong. A fund and a syndication are pretty much the exact same thing. It's all filed under the same exemption clause under the SEC. A syndication is typically a single asset entity, one deal specified. A fund is a much larger entity that holds multiple assets that not projects, but generates blended returns with multiple assets. That's like the difference. But really, to answer the big question of like the comment, what I meant is there's a big a hood, and we're all under it. Like us as retail investors, it starts as retail versus institutional. You have big, massive corporations that are doing the exact same thing that we're doing, and they've been doing it for a very, 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 very long time since money was incepted. All they're doing is they get, like, this is the Ivy League people and the trust fund people that you kind of grow up knowing, like, they're just super rich. Like, what do they do? How do they make money? The average Ivy League person grows up, lives until 18, goes to an Ivy League school to study fund management and private equity. And then they leave, and then they go work at a firm, a private equity firm, for another 4 years. So they're in their education phase for 8 years total. And then they break off, and then they go out and start their own shop, private equity investments. You can buy businesses, M&A, mergers and acquisitions, and then you can also do real estate, which is just real estate private equity funds. And so that's been existing for a very, 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 very long time. Finding deals, raising money from investors that don't want to be active, they want to be passive and get, sit back seat on their plane, right? And then you got these big companies. It's just been like, you had to go through an Ivy League school. You have to have this super fancy degree, and you have to know people, and you have to be born into it to play this game. In 2012, Barack Obama passed in the Jobs Act, what is now referred to as the syndication space for retail investors. That allowed retail people, the any day, everyday person, to be able to register a security and sell it to investors. So it's the exact same like hood that we're playing under. It's just fairly new to a lot of retail investors. And so for me, like after I left working grants, I don't watch a lot of retail guys. I solely focus on what are the biggest institutions doing, and all of that trickles down to the retail people. So hopefully that kind of expresses it. But seriously, Track, what I did really to get immersed with it is I looked at the top 50, the NMHC top 50. They all own between like 40 and 120,000 units, all of them. The people that are individuals that built the company from ground up, Barry Sternlicht, he's the #1 person. I studied him. I probably watched 20 hours on YouTube, and I've gotten his story. How did he get to where he's at? There's another guy named Joe Lubeck. He's based in Tampa, owns a company called American Landmark. They own 45,000 units. I studied that guy. And so looking at the individuals and studying what decisions did they make early on in their career to build such a large machine in a 20 or 30-year period is really eye-opening for me. And so that's where I get a lot of my data over the last year and just seeing what their deals are.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. No problem.
All right, guys, we're getting close here. 1 minute to 10 p.m. So I suggest the following. We do the 3 more questions where we have hands up.
Yes.
And that's when we're gonna send everybody home. So 3 more questions. Then we're gonna announce our speaker, celebrity guest speaker, just like Gabe. Sorry, bro. I'm gonna call you a celebrity guest speaker.
Yeah, man. We'll get there at some point. I'll be big at some point. I just can't. I can't front where I can't front, man.
You're ready, man. Come on. I love it.
It's all perception and how you perceive yourself.
Exactly. It's a definition, right?
Yeah.
All right, Deidre. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again, guys.
Hey, Deidre.
I just wanted to come on here and say thank you, Gabe. I checked out the course and I signed up for it. So I am just getting into multifamily and I'm kind of struggling with underwriting, but it's where I want to start out learning. So thank you, man.
Awesome. Underwriting is the place where you're going to learn numbers. Numbers really matter. Operations matter the most because that's what drives numbers, but understanding numbers will help you understand operations so much easier. Like so much easier. I went and I toured a deal today. I saw a dog park and I was like, okay, how many dogs live here? Okay, 10 dogs times $25 times 4. Okay, that's cool. I look at it so much differently because I know the numbers so well. So great. Start there for sure.
Great place to start. So thank you again. Trev, Victor, Marcel, there is a sheet that Edward and I worked on. It was an investor input sheet where we input information on a Google Forms. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, that's a sheet basically to put your information so you can see everyone in the community that wants to share their information, right? So you can collaborate and see locations and everything.
Do you guys post it? Because I have the link here.
Go for it. Post it again.
Yeah, I'm not going to hog up the time, guys. Thank you.
You're
See
good.
you. Nice talking to you, Gabe. I'll follow you on Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye, man.
Thank you, Deidre. All right, we got Hawk.
Let's go, Mike.
Let's go. There you go.
Sorry about that. Hey, Gabe. How you doing, brother?
My man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So I like the way you broke out, and one thing I love about you is you make everything simple, even the complex concepts, right? Yeah. So you talked about, the syndication and operations, and I'm going to kind of bridge of what Deidre was asking. A lot of times when I talk to new investors, new folks in multifamily, I break it down into 3 buckets: acquisition, operations, and syndication. And I tell them that, acquisition and syndication are the 2 things you can do at the same time in parallel. To start out, right? You can always raise capital, develop your capital stack. You can always talk to brokers, find deals, evaluate deals, get deals to contract, et cetera. So do you normally lump the acquisition piece, like you just told Deidre, working the numbers, understanding operations into the same bucket? Or do you say, okay, acquisitions kind of bleeds into operations and then, capital stack is always something that you can continually do?
Yeah, well, that's a really good way of putting it. So it's a much more detailed answer than my people and education bucket. And so, but like everybody here should have already seen or heard, the priority of a deal should be the deal, the debt, and then the equity. Everybody should have a decent understanding of that. Before the deal, I completely agree. Like if you find a home run deal, the equity will follow. However, big comma, big however, you should be building a people pipeline like right now. Like if you're getting in the bit, like if this is day 1, you should be posting, you should be telling everybody and anybody, hey, my name is Mike Hawkins. I'm going all the way into apartment investing. I'm like all the way in. This is the only thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life. If you want to learn more about it, let's have a call. And you plant a seed. You plant the seed right here. You plant the seed right here. You plant the seed right here. Because I can tell you, it's been a very, like, if you get to a deal and you can't pony up on the deal, like there's a big barrier that exists. It's an unknown, untalked about barrier. I'm telling you right now, people and education. So what Deidre's doing, she's newer. She's in the greener area. A lot is new. She's going to spend a lot of time in the education space. as she's doing that, like the biggest mistake people will do is you don't feel confident enough or comfortable enough to have conversations with other people about the deals because you think that you're new and you think that you can't talk about it. You should be talking to everybody about it. So one, build the pipeline of equity. That's how I look at it. Based on my goals. If I want to buy a $40 million deal, I need $15 million of equity. I personally need 8 million. What am I doing to get the 8 million? For a 40 unit deal, it's $3 million of equity, probably less. That's very achievable. So as I'm going through and I'm getting educated, I'm getting educated mostly by putting in repetitions that fall into the acquisition bucket. Like I'm developing relationships with brokers. I'm underwriting deals, fully underwriting deals. And then I'm like, I'll almost do like practice trials of submitting an LOI. And then that ties into back to the people. Do you have the right people? Not just LP investments, but do you have somebody that can come, somebody with experience? Like for instance, I talked to a debt broker today on this 40 unit deal. It's too small to attract a lot of my bigger people. So I'm like, okay, well, who can I call that has 3 deals, has bought 3 deals before 2 years ago? Like that's an experience bucket or box that they have to check. Fortunately, I've been doing it for a year now. I have a lot of people I can call. It's because I've been planting seeds every single day for the last year. And so it's like, if you're in, start planting seeds right now, because you're not going to be able to operate the deal completely alone, even like at all, like even on a 16, 24, 32 unit deal, you're going to need help somewhere. So hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, that was great. That was great, Gabe. You over delivered on that one. Absolutely. Thanks,
Okay.
man.
Appreciate you, man. Talk soon.
Thank you, brother. All right. And then we have technically last but not least, Jaden.
What's up, guys? Hey, so for those that don't know, I was in Grant's Real Estate Club almost at its inception. Got to meet Gabe and hear this guy on the calls while he was working with Grant. And the guy knows his stuff. So I'm especially honored to have him come in and join our team here. You know, I feel like the value that we're getting in this is probably surpassing what I actually got from that. And you know, it's like a $25,000 buy-in. So if you guys don't understand the value of what Gabe is giving you guys, it's huge. Like I can't explain to you how huge that is.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, so my question though, and something that I hear Cody Sanchez recently put on a YouTube video, she's talking about a room of investors that she's in. And she said 2 of the guys that were like, you know, these guys are multi-million or billion-dollar individuals that's being pitched a deal. And rather than act like they knew exactly what was being pitched to them, they just both said, hey, you know, tell me again what it is you're telling me, but say it like I'm a 5th grader. And she said, you know, it really kind of gave her a lot of credibility to the guy that, you know, here's this guy that knows a whole ton. Obviously he's pretty wealthy, pretty smart, but yet, you know, he didn't pretend to know it all, because most of those people are still trying to figure it out and still learning and still growing. And so I guess that's just my 2 cents on this, is like, nobody pretend like you got it all figured out, because we're all still as Gabe put it, kind of like little fish in this big sea.
You always will be.
So my one question that I'm kind of curious on though is like, so if I'm wanting to do some capital raising for a syndication or whatnot, or, you know, say not having a deal and I want to prep that, do I need to be having these conversations all one-on-one, or can I throw something on my Instagram?
You should do both. You should do both. You should throw stuff on your Instagram to then generate interest, to then have a conversation with somebody offline. Like anybody, it doesn't even have to be an investment in multifamily. Anybody ever invested in something, at least a sizable amount, 5 or 10 grand, like into something with somebody that they didn't trust or feel comfortable with? The biggest reason anybody doesn't invest with anybody is because they don't trust them, even if the deal is a home run deal. That's why I say deal debt equity, the requirement, the prerequisite is building a pipeline full of people. So yes, you should do both. You should say, hey, I'm doing apartments. This is my criteria, because you don't even have to have a deal to have the conversation. You know, based on the educational piece of it, I'm looking for 50 to 100 units that I can hit net annualized returns to the LP of 15% or greater over a 5-year period. And I need my upside to be proven day one, just like we hit on our Daytona Palms one. Look at that. We just had a conversation about investing in my deal, and I don't even have a deal. So highly recommend, 1000%. If you guys don't feel comfortable to have conversations with other people about deals, it's because you're not educated enough. So
Right.
just simplicity.
Got to put in the work.
Like everybody here knows how to talk about basic math. How do you add 2 + 2? 2 + 2 = 4. Like everybody knows that. It all like confidence comes from knowledge.
Thanks for your question, Jaden. Thanks for the input here. And guys, I know we could go longer. We have 2 more hands up. Let's do the following. How about this? Shoot Gabe an Instagram message to @multifamily. You know, that's the easiest handle to remember right now with your question. And I'm just gonna hopefully respectfully volunteer Gabe that he will answer that question via
100%. Yeah, 1,000,000%. I use my disadvantage to my advantage. I'm small, which means I can take the time and spend time with you. Yeah, you guys can schedule a call with me. Just get into the ecosystem. Like once I get your email on the free course, like you're in the ecosystem, at some point, I'm probably going to say schedule a call. Just schedule a call with me. Just be very attentive about it. Like, don't waste my time. The easiest way to not get into real estate is to burn bridges with really good people. Like, just be cognizant of people's time.
So freaking true. See, there you go, guys. I mean, freaking schedule a call. What the heck, man? I mean, that's yeah. Nothing more said. Gabe, thank you so much. I would like to ask before you hop off here, everyone to quickly pull out their phone and return the favor of value that Gabe has provided. Take out your phone, take a picture of the screen. Yay, let's go. You're going to go on Instagram. And since you know Gabe's handle @multifamily now, you can create a story that says, thanks, Gabe, for all the value you provided @multifamily. Share it so everybody can see. It helps Gabe to create more visibility. All right. I mean, if you want to be nice, you can tag us too, but it doesn't matter. It's all about Gabe, right? Help spread the message. Help spread Gabe with your network. All right. I'm going to be doing that here in just a second when I shut up as well. And let's pump him out there. Let's return the favor.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. It's so boring doing this stuff alone. I'm telling you that, man. You got to find good people and bring them along. There is no reason to do this thing alone. It's not worth it.
That's exactly
So,
what it is.
thank you guys. Any way I can be of help. Just if you reach out, make sure you say, hey, I was on this call. Let's go. I'll move you up on the list.
Oh, you were on the Freedom Chasers activation Zoom. There you go.
You got activated, man.
That's right.
Activated.
Yes.
Let's go.
That's cool.
Thank you so much, Gabe. We so much appreciate you. I'm so excited for everything that's yet to come, man. Everything that's yet to come.
That's right.
You guys are all awesome.
Love it.
You too, brother. Thanks.
Awesome. See you.
All right.